Evan liked places where nobody looked. Not because he hated people. Not because he was rude. He just felt safer when he was not noticed. On Station K-17, being noticed was dangerous. It could mean a new job he did not want. It could mean a fight he did not start. It could mean someone asking questions that had sharp edges. So Evan stayed invisible. He wore a plain gray jumpsuit with no bright marks. He kept his head down in the holes. He used the service routes instead of the public walkways. He worked nights, when most shops were closed and the loud crowd slept. He fixed broken vents, loose panels, bad wires, and old door locks. He did not complain. He did not chat. He did not even eat in the big food court. He was the kind of human people forgot, and he liked it that way. That night, the station lights were set to late cycle. Soft blue strips glowed along the ceiling. The air smelled like metal and recycled water. Evan moved through a maintenance tunnel with a small tool bag on his shoulder. He was going to level 8 to replace a power fuse. Easy job. Quick job. No trouble. He stopped at a corner and listened, like he always did. The tunnel was quiet. No footsteps. No voices. Only the low hum of the station's heart. Then he heard it. A heavy step. Slow. Calm. Too close. Evan's shoulders tightened. He turned his head slightly, trying to see without making it obvious. The tunnel behind him was long and dark. The blue lights made everything look cold. At first he saw nothing. Then another step. Not running. Not hiding. Just walking like a person had all the time in the galaxy. Evan's stomach dropped. He started moving again. Faster now. His boots tapped softly on the metal floor. He told himself it was nothing. Maybe a late worker. Maybe security. Maybe someone lost. But the steps stayed behind him, steady and heavy, like a drum. Evan turned into a side passage and kept going. The maintenance map was in his head. He knew every town. He knew every shortcut. He knew how to disappear. The steps turned too. His throat went dry. He did not like this. He did not like it at all. He reached the ladder and climbed up, hands quick, tool bag bumping against his side. At the top was a small hatch into a storage corridor. He pushed it open and slipped through. The corridor was brighter. It connected to the residential blocks. There were cameras here. That should have made him feel safer. It did not. The steps came up behind him again, now loud on the open floor. Evan did not run. Running made people look. Running made alarms happen. Running made security ask questions. He walked fast instead, trying to look normal, trying to look boring. He passed a vending unit and a silent cleaning bot. He kept his face calm, but his mind was screaming. He glanced at a reflection in a dark window panel. He saw her. Big, broad shoulders. Green skin with a gray tint under blue lights. Two short tusks that curved up from the bottom lip. Yellow eyes that looked like they were always curious. She wore a simple brown jacket that did not fit her frame and a strap across her chest for a small bag. An orc girl. Evan almost stopped walking, but he forced his legs to keep moving. No, he whispered, so low only he could hear it. Not again. He did not even know her name. He had seen her a few times in the lower docks. Orcs worked there often, lifting heavy crates, fixing ship doors, doing hard labor for cheap pay. Most people on the station avoided them. Some were scared. Some were hateful. Some acted like orcs were animals instead of people. Evan avoided them too, but for a different reason. Orcs noticed things. Orcs looked at him like they could see his fear. And this one had looked at him too long. He turned into the residential block entrance and tapped his ID band on the scanner. The door slid open. Warm air rushed out, smelling like cooked spice and fabric cleaner. Evan stepped inside, and the door started to close. A large hand caught it. The door beeped, confused, then opened again. Evan's heart punched his ribs. The orc girl stepped into the block like it was normal, like she belonged there, like she had done it 100 times. She did not look around. She did not act sneaky. She just followed. Evan walked faster down the hall. His room was near the end. He had chosen it because it was small, cheap, and quiet. Most people did not come to this side. He reached his door, pushed his thumb to the lock, and slipped inside. He turned and hit the manual close button. The door slid shut with a soft hiss. For 1 second, Evan breathed. Then the door beeped. It beeped again. The lock light turned red, then green, and the door opened. Evan stepped back, shocked, like the door had slapped him. The orc girl stood there, calm as a sunrise. She walked in without asking. She looked around his room, slow and curious. Evan's room was simple. A bed against the wall, a small desk with a screen, a stack of old paper books he had found in storage and fixed up, a kettle for hot water, tools hung in neat rows. It was the kind of room someone lived in when they did not want much. The orc girl sniffed the air and nodded, like she approved. Evan found his voice. "How did you open that?" She blinked at him. Door opened. "That's not an answer." She tilted her head. "I touched it." Evan stared at his lock panel. It was old, yes, but still secure. Only his band should open it. Unless the lock had been broken before. Unless he had fixed it wrong. Unless... His thoughts crashed together. He looked at her again. "Why are you here?" The orc girl's eyes softened, like she did not understand why he asked. "Because you are safe." Evan let out a short, nervous laugh that sounded wrong. "I'm not safe. I'm not even strong." She walked closer. Her steps were heavy, but her face was not angry. She was not smiling either. She just looked sure. "You are safe," she repeated, like it was a fact. "You do not hit. You do not shout. You look away when others stay. You fix things. You help." Evan swallowed. He did remember helping an orc once. It was weeks ago. A crate clamp had snapped, and a worker's hand almost got crushed. Evan had pulled the emergency lever and rewired the clamp lock so it would hold. He did it fast, then left before anyone thanked him. He had not thought anyone noticed. Apparently, someone had. Evan shook his head. "You can't just follow me home." The orc girl frowned, as if the words were strange. "Follow?" "Yes, this." Evan waved at the room. "This is my private space." She looked at the bed, then the desk, then the books again. "Small nest." Evan blinked. "Nest?" She nodded once. "Safe place." Evan wanted to scream. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to throw his hands in the air and ask the universe why his quiet life had just been ruined by a very large, very calm orc girl with a worse sense of boundaries in the station. Instead, he said, "What is your name?" She paused, like she had to decide if he deserved it. Then she answered, simple, "Raka." "Raka," Evan repeated. "I'm Evan, and you need to leave." Raka looked down at the strap bag across her chest. Her fingers tightened around it. Then she looked back at Evan. "I cannot leave," she said. Evan felt a chill. "Why not?" Raka pulled something out of a bag. It was wrapped in cloth, tied with a strip of wire. She held it with both hands, careful, like it mattered. Evan's eyes fixed on it. "What is that?" Raka stepped closer and placed a bundle on his desk. Evan did not touch it right away. His hands hovered, unsure. Raka watched him with those yellow eyes. "Bad people want it," she said. Evan's voice went thin. "Why do you have it?" "Because they dropped it," Raka said, as if that explained everything. Evan slowly unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a station ID chip. Small, black, clean edges, but there was a smear of dark red on one corner. Blood. Evan's fingers went cold. He leaned closer. The chip had a security seal, the kind used by high-level departments. His breath caught when he saw the stamped mark, Lab Sector. Evan looked up at Raka. "Where did you get this?" Raka's face stayed calm. "Dock 3. 2 men argued. 1 fell. The chip fell. I picked it up." Evan's mouth went dry. "You picked it up after someone fell." Raka shrugged. "It was on the floor. Floor is dirty." Evan stared at her, shocked by how simple she made it sound. He was about to ask another question when his room lights flickered. Just once. A soft buzz ran through the door panel. Evan turned toward it. He heard voices in the hall. Not casual voices. Not neighbors. These were sharp, trained voices. "Security sweep." Someone said, "Check every door." Evan froze. Raka's head toned. It was catching the sound faster than his. Footsteps came closer. More than one pair. Heavy boots. A drone hum. A scanner beeped. Evan's mind raced. If security saw Raka, they would assume the worst. Orcs did not get fair treatment on Station K-17. If they saw the blood-stained lab chip on his desk, they would not ask nicely. They would drag him out. They would erase his work license. They might even lock him in a cell just to be safe. Evan grabbed the cloth and wrapped the chip again, hands shaking. Raka watched him, then spoke in a low voice. "They are looking for me." Evan's eyes widened. "Why?" Raka pointed at the bundle. "Because of that." The voices stopped right outside his door. A hard knock hit the metal. 1, 2, 3. "Open up," a voice ordered. Evan's throat tightened. He looked at Raka. She looked back, calm as ever, like she was waiting for him to choose. Evan wanted to say, "Get out." But there was nowhere to go. The corridor would be full of security. The service tunnels were far, and if she ran, they would chase her. He swallowed and pointed to the open wall vent near the floor. He had installed it himself for extra airflow. "Go in there," he whispered. "Now." Raka crouched, but she did not move right away. "You will be safe?" she asked. Evan almost laughed at the question. "No," he whispered, "but do it." Raka slid the vent cover off with one hand like it weighed nothing. She crawled inside, surprisingly quiet for someone her size. Before she disappeared, she looked back at him. "You chose," she said softly. Then she was gone. Evan snapped the vent cover back into place and tried to make his face blank. The knock came again, louder. "Open up," the voice repeated. Evan forced his legs to move. He walked to the door and pressed the lock. The door slid open. 2 security officers stood there in dark uniforms. A small scanning drone hovered between them, its light sweeping the room. One officer stared at Evan. "Human. ID." Evan held out his wristband with a shaky hand. The other officer spoke, cold and simple. "We're looking for stolen property. And a suspect." The drone's light moved across the bed, the desk, the tools, the books. Evan held his breath. The drone's light paused near the vent. It hovered there for 1 second longer than it should have. A soft beep sounded. Evan's stomach dropped. The officer's eyes narrowed. "You got someone else in here." Evan tried to speak, but no sound came out. Behind him, inside the vent, something shifted, just a tiny scrape of metal. The drone's light turned brighter, and the officer took 1 step forward. Evan's mind went blank for a second. The security officer had stepped inside. The small drone hovered closer to the vent, its light turning sharp and white. Evan could hear his own heartbeat, loud and stupid, like it wanted to confess everything. He forced himself to move first. He raised both hands, palms out, like he was harmless. "It's just me," he said. His voice sounded too thin, but he kept talking before fear could steal it. "I live alone. I work maintenance." The officer did not look impressed. He glanced around Evan's room again, as if the walls were lying. Then what was that sound? Evan swallowed. He pointed to the vent with a shaky finger. "Loose panel," he said quickly. "I fixed it earlier. It still moves sometimes." The officer looked at the vent. The drone light stayed locked there, like an eye that would not blink. Evan's brain searched for anything, to make this normal. "If you want, I can show you the report," he added. "I logged the repair in the system." The second officer, the one still standing in the hole, spoke. "We don't have time for reports. The suspect is an orc female. Large, green skin, brown jacket." Evan's chest tightened. He kept his face still. "I haven't seen her," he lied. The first officer leaned closer, and Evan smelled a sharp scent of disinfectant on his uniform. "We have alerts from Doc 3. A lab ID chip is missing. Someone was injured." Evan's stomach twisted. He nodded slowly as if he caved, as if he was not holding a secret 2 meters behind the vent cover. "That's terrible," he said. The drone beeped again, softer now. Its light scanned the vent edges, then drifted away toward the desk, as if it had lost interest. Evan almost collapsed from relief. The officer's eyes followed the drone. Then he looked back at Evan. "You're new here," he said. Evan forced a small shrug. "Few months." The officer stared, measuring him. Humans cause trouble when they act small, he said, like it was a lesson. Stay out of dock disputes. Evan nodded. Yes, sir. The officer stepped back toward the door. Lock your door properly, he added. Evan swallowed hard. I will. The officer turned to leave. The drone floated out with him, its light fading as it crossed the threshold. The second officer gave Evan one last look, cold and suspicious. Then they were gone. The door slid shut. Evan stood there for 3 seconds, not breathing, like the air itself might trigger another scan. When he was sure the footsteps were moving away, he locked the door again, then pressed his forehead against the metal. His hands were shaking. He turned toward the vent. Raka, he whispered. There was a pause. Then the vent cover shifted. Raka's face appeared in the shadow, eyes bright and calm. She crawled out, shoulders brushing the vent edges. It should have been loud. It was not. She moved like she had learned silence the hard way. She stood up to full height, almost touching the ceiling's strip light. Then she looked at Evan as if nothing serious had happened. They did not take you, she said. Evan stared at her. No thanks to you. Raka blinked. I was quiet. You broke into my room, Evan hissed, trying to keep his voice low. You brought trouble to my door. Raka's head tilted. Trouble followed me. I followed you. That is not better. Evan rubbed his face, exhausted already. He walked to his desk and pulled the cloth bundle closer. The blood mark on the cloth seemed darker now, like it was spreading just by being seen. Raka leaned forward slightly, curious. You hid me, she said. Evan paused. He hated that she sounded pleased. I didn't want security tearing up my room, he said, but the excuse felt weak. Raka's eyes stayed on him. You chose. Evan sighed. Stop saying that. She frowned, confused. Why? Because I didn't choose you, Evan said. I didn't choose any of this. I want quiet. I want no attention. I want to finish my shift and go home and sleep. Raka listened like she was trying to understand a foreign language. Quiet is not always safe, she said. Evan scoffed. It is for me. Raka stepped closer, and Evan had to stop himself from backing up. She was not threatening. She was just there. Too close. Too solid. You are safe because you are small, she said, simple and direct. People ignore small. Evan's cheeks warmed with anger. I'm not small. I'm just. Not loud, Raka finished. Not proud. Not cruel. Evan opened his mouth, then closed it. He did not know what to do with that. He turned away and began pacing, trying to collect his thoughts in a straight line. Okay, he said, forcing control into his voice. Rule 1, you cannot just follow people into their homes. Raka blinked again. Why? Because humans need space, Evan said. We need privacy. We need alone time. Raka looked around his small room. You are alone too much. Evan stopped pacing. That's not your job to decide. Raka nodded slowly, like she was filing the words away. Rule 1, she repeated, testing it. Yes, Evan said. Rule 2, you do not touch doors and locks that are not yours. Raka looked at the door panel. Doors are for opening. Evan groaned. Rule 2, he repeated, firmer. Raka nodded again. Rule 2. Evan exhaled. This was going badly. He tried again, with the most important thing. Rule 3. You tell me the truth. Why are they looking for you? Raka's expression changed a little. Not fear, not guilt, more like memory. Like she was seeing Dock 3 again, hearing the sounds again. Dock 3, she said quietly. I carried scrap metal. I heard shouting. 2 men fought near the old storage gate. 1 man had a white badge. He fell. He hit his head. He bled. Evan's stomach turned. Did you hurt him? Raka looked offended. Almost. No. Then why are you the suspect? Raka shrugged, the movement heavy. Because I was there. Because I am orc. Evan hated how true that sounded. He sat on the edge of his bed, suddenly tired. And the chip, he said. The lab chip. Why did you take it? It fell, Raka said again. Then, After a small pause, she added, "A third man tried to take it. He had gloves. He looked at me like I was food." Evan's spine chilled. "So you took it first?" Raka nodded. "Yes." "Why not give it to security?" Evan asked. "Why bring it to me?" Raka looked at him like the answer was obvious. "Security hurts orcs," she said. "You do not." Evan swallowed. That was the worst reason and the best reason at the same time. He stared at the cloth bundle. His mind wanted to push it away, to pretend it was not real. But he could not know what he had seen. Blood, lab stamp, security sweep. He touched the bundle carefully. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. Raka shook her head. "Small thing. Many people want." Evan nodded slowly. "That's a problem." He stood up and moved to his desk screen. He hesitated. If he logged into the station net and searched lab sector, it might flag his profile. He was a maintenance worker. He had no reason to touch lab issues. But now he did. He looked back at Raka. "You're going to sit," he said, pointing to the floor near the wall. "And you're going to stay still. Understand?" Raka lowered herself to sit, legs crossed like a big statue. She looked almost peaceful, which was unfair. Evan connected his wristband to the desk port and opened a low-level maintenance interface. It was not the main net. It was a small side channel used for repairs and door logs. Less watched, less loud. He entered the chip's ID code manually. The code was printed tiny along the edge. He read it carefully, typing each character as if one mistake would explode. A warning popped up. "Restricted item. Do not access." Evan's hands hovered. He glanced at Raka. She watched him, calm and trusting, like he was building a toy, not risking his life. Evan clicked View Basic Metadata. Another warning. Access will be logged. Evan whispered, "Of course it will." He cancelled it. He leaned back, eyes wide. Even touching the metadata would leave a trail. Someone with real access could find him. Someone with power could ruin him. He turned to Raka. "You can't keep this," he said. "It's too hot. It's too dangerous." Raka's brow furrowed. "Hot. Dangerous," Evan repeated. "It will bring security again. Worse security. Maybe lab security." Raka leaned forward slightly. "Then we hide it." Evan shook his head. "Hiding is not a plan." Raka stared at him for a long moment, then asked, very simple, "What is a plan?" Evan almost laughed, but nothing felt funny. "A plan," he said, choosing words you might understand, "is how you stay alive tomorrow." Raka nodded slowly. "I want alive tomorrow." Evan looked at her, and something inside him softened, just a little. She was big and strong, but in some ways she was like a lost kid who had learned the wrong rules from the wrong people. He stood up. "Okay," he said, more to himself than to her. "We do this step by step." He walked to the room's small storage shelf and pulled out a metal box. Inside were spare circuit parts, a small signal jammer, and an old handheld scanner he used for door diagnostics. He held up the jammer. "This will block local pings," he said, "for a short time. If that chip is tagged, it might try to call home." Raka watched, interested. "Your brain is fast," she said. Evan ignored the comment. He wrapped the chip bundle in an extra layer of foil cloth and placed it inside the metal box. Then he shut the box and slid it under the bed. Raka's eyes followed each movement. "Now safe?" she asked. Evan shook his head. "Safer. Not safe." A faint beep sounded from Evan's desk screen. He turned. A tiny icon flashed, one he had never seen before on the maintenance interface. It looked like a small eye, open and bright. Evan's blood went cold. "What is that?" he whispered. He clicked it. A single line appeared. "Unregistered device detected. Signal ping sent." Evan stared at the words. Breath caught in his throat. He did not understand at first. Then it hit him. The chip had pinged something when he typed its code. Even without metadata access. Even without opening it. It had sent a signal. Somewhere, someone now knew. Evan's hand started shaking again. Raka stood up fast. "Bad?" she asked. Evan nodded, eyes fixed on the screen. "Very bad." In the hall outside, far away at first, he heard boots again. Fast boots this time. Not a slow sweep. A response. He moved to the door and pressed his ear to the metal. A loudspeaker crackled somewhere in the block. "Attention," a voice announced. "Residential level 8 is now under temporary lock. Stay inside your rooms." Evan turned back to Raka, fear cutting into his stomach like ice. Raka looked at him. "Steady. We'll run," she asked. Evan swallowed. His mouth felt like sand. "If we run, they chase," he said. "If we stay, they trap." Raka stepped closer, like she was ready to lift him and carry him if needed. "You choose," she said softly. Evan hated that phrase. But she was right. Someone always chose, even when they did not want to. Evan grabbed his tool bag and shoved the jammer inside. He pointed at Raka. "Rule 4, he said, voice tight. "If I say stop, you stop. If I say quiet, you are quiet." Raka nodded once. "Rule 4. Evan unlocked the small maintenance hatch in the back wall, his private exit into the service tunnels. He had installed it quietly months ago. His one secret. His one escape. He pulled it open. Cold air spilled in, smelling like dust and wires. Evan looked down the dark tunnel, then back at Raka. In the corridor outside his door, boots were already getting closer. Evan whispered, "Move!" Raka slipped into the tunnel first, silent and quick. Evan followed, pulling the hatch shut behind him. In the dark, he heard a new sound. Not boots. A clean, sharp mechanical hum. Like a beta drone. Like lab security. Evan's breath caught as a bright white light swept the corridor on the other side of the wall. And a calm voice said, "Too close to be normal. Human Evan. Step out. We can do this the easy way." Evan froze in the tunnel, eyes wide in the darkness. Raka's hand found his shoulder, warm and steady, and the station lights above them dimmed, as if the whole place was holding its breath. The service tunnel was narrow, cold, and full of old station smells, dust, oil, hot metal. Evan moved in the dark with one hand on the wall, counting steps in his head. Behind him, Raka crawled like she had lived in tunnels all her life. For someone so big, she was shockingly quiet. Above them, on the other side of the thin wall, the calm voice spoke again. "Human Evan, step out." Evan did not answer. He held his breath and kept moving. A bright light passed over the tunnel's small vent slits. A scanner sweep. Not random. Controlled. Evan's mind ran fast. Lab security. Not normal station guards. That was worse. Station guards wanted order. Lab security wanted silence. He whispered to Raka, "No sound." Raka nodded once. "Quiet," she whispered back, like she was proud she remembered Rule 4. Evan almost smiled, but fear crushed it. They reached a split in the tunnel. Evan stopped and listened. The hum of the station was louder here, mixed with a faint clicking sound that did not belong. Click, click, click. Evan's eyes widened. Those were not boots. They were little feet. Metal feet. A micro-drone patrol. He pulled Raka behind a large pipe and crouched. Raka crouched too, folding herself into the shadow like a giant cat. A small drone rolled past the tunnel opening, no bigger than a dinner plate. It had 3 spider legs and 1 glowing lens. It stopped, turned slightly, and shined its light into the tunnel. Evan held still. His heart beat so hard he thought the drone could hear it. The drone's lens flicked left and right. Then it rolled away. Evan exhaled slowly. Raka leaned close, whispering, "Bad bug." Evan nodded. "Yes." Raka's fingers flexed, like she wanted to crush it. Evan grabbed her wrist quickly. "No fighting," he whispered. Raka looked at him, confused. "Why?" "Because fighting makes noise," Evan said. "Noise brings more." Raka held his gaze for a second, then nodded. "No noise." Evan forced his brain to focus. He could not just run forever. The maintenance tunnel connected everywhere, but lab security would lock down routes fast. If they got cornered, Raka could break doors, sure, but then the station would label them as violent. Evan needed something cleaner, something smarter. He needed a trap. Evan opened his tool bag in the dark. He pulled out his handheld scanner, the small signal jammer, and a spool of thin wire. He also had a tiny power bridge clip, cheap, simple, but useful. Raka watched with interest. You build? She asked. Evan nodded. Yes. He checked the tunnel map in his head. 2 turns ahead was an old junction box used for emergency lights. It still had a live line. If he could reroute that line, he could do 2 things. Create a fake signal to pull drones away, and cut power to a door behind them to slow the chase. He whispered, Follow me. Step where I step. Raka nodded. Same steps. They moved again, careful and quiet. Evan kept one ear tuned for the hum of drones and the other ear tuned for human voices. He heard neither. That scared him more, because silence meant planning. They reached the junction box. Evan knelt and opened the panel with a small tool. The inside was a nest of old wires and dusty connectors. Perfect. He pulled the scanner out and clipped it into the box. A weak light glowed. The screen showed the line status. Low power. Still active. Good. Evan whispered to himself. Okay. Simple. He connected the bridge clip to the emergency line. Then he attached the spool wire and ran it along the wall, out of sight, toward the next tunnel bend. He set the jammer near the junction box and switched it to a narrow burst mode. Raka watched every move like she was watching a magic trick. What does it do? She whispered. Evan kept his voice low. It will make a fake ping. Like the chip calling again. Drones will come here. Not to us. Raka frowned. But Chip is under bed. Evan swallowed. Yeah, but the lab thinks I still have it. They only need a signal to chase. Raka's eyes narrowed slightly. They hunt sound. They hunt data, Evan corrected softly. Same thing. He finished the setup and held up one finger to Raka. One more rule, he whispered. If I point, you move. If I pull you, you don't resist. Raka nodded. Rule 5. Evan almost groaned. How many rules can one person survive? He closed the junction box gently, then moved them into a side pocket in the tunnel, a small maintenance alcove with a broken cleaning unit. They hid behind it. Evan took a slow breath. His hands were still shaking, but his mind was clearer now. Fear was bad, but fear also made him sharp. He waited. Above them, the station announced again, muffled through metal and distance, temporary lock. Stay inside. Evan checked his wristband. No signal. No messages. That meant the block network was restricted. Good for hiding. Bad for help. He looked at Raka. When I say now, he whispered, you stay still. Raka nodded, serious. Evan clicked the jammer. A soft pulse ran through the wires like a quiet heartbeat. Then the tunnel speakers crackled, only for a second, like something was listening. Evan scanned a beat once. Ping sent. He turned it off right away. Then he waited for the reaction. It came fast. The clicking sound returned. Multiple drones this time. Click, 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 coming from the far tunnel end. Their lights flashed along the walls like cold lightning. Raka tensed. Evan grabbed her arm and held firm. Still, he whispered. The drones reached the junction box area. Their light swept the wires. One drone stopped at the box and extended a thin probe. It touched the panel. The emergency line surged. Evan's trap fired. The drone's lights flickered. 2 of them jerked sideways, confused. One drone let out a sharp chirp, almost like a squeal. Then all 3 drones rolled toward the junction box, clustering like bugs around Sugar. Evan used the moment. He pulled Raka back and guided her down the side tunnel, away from the drone cluster. They moved fast but quiet. Evan's heart pounded, but he did not let his feet slam. Raka followed perfectly. For the first time since she entered his life, Evan felt a tiny spark of control. They reached a ladder leading up to a public service door, one that opened into an old market corridor used by night workers. Evan climbed first, pushed the hatch, and peeked out. The corridor was dim, but open. A few people walked by, a tired vendor, a cleaning crew, a small group of miners heading to sleep pods. No security in sight. Evan climbed out and helped Raka up. She stepped into the corridor, and people immediately moved away from her, eyes wide. One vendor clutched his bag tighter. Someone whispered an insult under their breath. Raka did not react. She only looked around, curious. Evan's face burned with anger, but he pushed it down. There was no time to fight the station's hate. He grabbed Raka's sleeve and pulled her toward a corner, away from the main path. "Keep your head down," he whispered. Raka tried. It looked strange on someone her size, but she tried. Evan's mind worked again. Where do they go now? The chip was still under his bed. That meant lab security was chasing him for a thing he did not even have on him. If he went back to his room, he would walk into a trap. If he stayed in public, cameras would catch Raka in seconds. He needed to find two things: a place to hide her where scanners would not reach, someone who could tell him what the lab chip really was. Evan knew one kind of person who always knew too much: a broker, a fixer, a black market helper. And Evan knew where those people lived: the night market, level 6. He whispered to Raka, "We go down." Raka nodded. "Down is safer." Evan almost laughed again. "Not on this station." They moved along the corridor, hugging walls, avoiding open camera zones. Evan watched every ceiling corner for lenses. He used maintenance signs to choose routes with fewer sensors. Raka followed close, almost like a guard dog, except she was not trained, and she did not understand human fear. She stopped once to stare at a bright poster of a human comedian, her head tilted like she was trying to decode it. Evan tugged her sleeve. "Later," he whispered. Raka nodded quickly. "Later." They reached a small stairwell. Evan pushed through the door and guided her down. The stairwell was empty and smelled like old paint. The lights flickered. Halfway down, Evan heard something above them. A door opening. Boots. Not normal boots. He knew the sound now. Clean, even steps. Professional. Lab security. Evan's blood turned cold. He whispered, "Fast. Quiet." Raka moved faster without making noise. Evan moved too, almost tripping as fear pushed him. They reached level 7 and burst into another corridor. Evan stopped short. Two figures stood at the far end. Not guards. Not workers. They wore simple clothes, but their eyes were sharp. Their hands were too ready near their belts. Evan recognized the look. Hunters. The broker's people. How could that be? Evan had not even reached level 6 yet. He had not spoken to anyone. Then he understood with a sick twist in his gut. The chip ping had not just called lab security. It had called everyone. Raka's eyes narrowed. "Bad men," she whispered. One of the hunters smiled when he saw Evan. "There he is," he said, loud enough to carry. "The human with the missing chip." Evan's mouth went dry. The hunter pointed at Raka, like she was a prize. "And he brought us a bonus." Raka's hands flexed again. Evan grabbed her wrist. "No fighting," he whispered. Raka stared at him, struggling. "They will hurt you." Evan swallowed hard. "Then we don't let them catch us." The hunter took a step closer. "Easy," he called. "We're friends. We just want to talk." Evan backed up slowly, pulling Raka with him. His eyes scanned the corridor for exits. One door to the left, locked. One to the right, maintenance access, maybe. Behind them, stairwell, lab security coming down. They were boxed in. Evan's mind flashed through options like sparks. He did not have a weapon. He did not have strength. But he had one thing most people ignored: the station itself. Evan spotted a fire suppression panel near the ceiling. Old model. Manual trigger for gas foam in case of electrical blaze. He grabbed a small metal tool from his bag and threw it hard at the panel. The tool hit with a loud clang. The panel cracked. A piercing alarm screamed. White foam exploded from ceiling vents, flooding the corridor like a sudden snowstorm. People shouted. The hunters coughed and covered their faces. Evan grabbed Raka's hand. "Go," he shouted. They ran through the foam, half-blind. Evan's lungs burned. His eyes watered. But he kept moving, using the wall to guide them. Behind them, the hunters cursed and stumbled. Ahead, through the foam, Evan saw a door with a faded sign. Restricted access, human only. Evan's heart skipped. He did not know this door. He had never seen it on any public map. And yet, it was here, waiting like a secret. Raka coughed, eyes narrowed. "Door," she rasped. Evan ran to it and slapped his wristband on the scanner, not even thinking. The scanner beeped once. Green. The door unlocked. Evan froze for a fraction of a second. Why did it accept him? He did not have time to question it. He pulled the door open and shoved Raka through first. Then he jumped in after her. The door slammed shut behind them. The foam alarm screamed on the other side. Inside, the air was clean and still. The lights were white, bright, and calm. The corridor was smooth metal, no dust, no rust. It smelled new, too new. Evan stared at the walls. He whispered, "What is this place?" Raka looked around slowly, wide-eyed. "Human cave," she said. Evan's wristband buzzed once. A message appeared on his screen, in plain text. "Welcome back, Evan. Access restored." Evan's blood went colder than before, because he had never been here. And someone, or something, was acting like he had. The corridor behind the human-only door was too clean. The walls had no scratches, no grime, no old tape marks. The floor did not creak. Even the air felt different, cooler, filtered, and sharp, like a hospital. Evan stood still, breathing slowly. His heart was still racing from the foam alarm and the chase, but this place felt like a quiet trap. Quiet traps were the worst kind. Raka took one step forward, then another. Her boots made almost no sound on the smooth floor. Evan whispered, "Don't touch anything." Raka looked at him. "Rule?" she asked. Evan nodded. "Rule 6. Raka's face showed a small confusion, like she was trying to count. Then she nodded once. "Rule 6. Evan swallowed. He lifted his wrist and stared at the message again. "Welcome back, Evan. Access restored." He whispered, "This is wrong." Raka tilted her head. "You are not back." "No," Evan said, voice tight. "I have never been here." He took a careful step forward. Lights turned on ahead of him, one strip at a time, like the corridor itself was watching. Sensors. Smart sensors. The kind used in high-level labs. Evan wanted to turn around. He could not. Behind the door, he could still hear muffled chaos, people coughing, alarms screaming, heavy boots shouting orders. If he went back out, he would walk straight into lab security and the broker's hunters. So he moved forward. The corridor opened into a wider room with glass panels on both sides. Inside the panels were empty workstations, sealed cabinets, and metal tables. Everything was tidy. Too tidy. Like it was waiting for someone to return and continue the wake. Raka stared through the glass. "Many shiny boxes," she whispered. Evan approached one workstation. The screen was dark. A simple keyboard sat in front. He did not touch it yet. He did not want to leave prints. Not that prints would matter here. Places like this tracked everything. Then the workstation screen lit up by itself. A soft chime sounded. Text appeared in plain English. Project Hearth. Primary user, Evan Klein. Status, dormant. Wake? Evan's mouth went dry. He took a step back. Raka leaned closer, eyes curious. "It knows your name," she said. Evan whispered, "It shouldn't." His mind tried to make a simple reason. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone else had his name. Maybe the station system was broken. But nothing in this room looked broken. The screen waited. The word wake blinked slowly, calm and patient. Evan looked at Raka. She was calm too, but there was tension in her shoulders now. Even she could feel it. Evan's voice was barely a breath. "If I press it, it logs me." Raka blinked. "Logs." "Records," Evan said. "It will know I'm here." Raka pointed behind them. "Bad people already know you. They said your name." Evan hated that she was right. He turned back to the screen. He hesitated for one more second, then tapped wake. The moment his finger touched the key, the room changed. Lights brightened. Hidden vents hummed softly. A low, steady tone filled the air, like the system was waking up and checking its own bones. The glass panels turned slightly darker, as if they were now active security glass. And a calm voice spoke from somewhere in the ceiling. "Hello, Evan." Evan flinched so hard his shoulders jumped. He looked up, eyes wide. The voice was not loud, not robotic either. It sounded human in a strange way. Gentle, balanced, like a person who never had to rush. Evan's throat tightened. "Who are you?" The voice paused for half a second, like it was choosing simple words. I am half, it said. Raka stared up at the ceiling. A spirit, she whispered. Evan shook his head quickly. No, it's a system. An AI. Maybe. The voice spoke again. Calm. This sector is under restricted protection. You brought an unregistered guest. Evan's eyes snapped to the glass panel. It knows about her. Raka straightened. Ready. I can fight, spirit. Evan whispered. No fighting. Raka clenched her jaw but stayed still. Evan took a slow breath. Half, he said carefully. Why is my name on your screen? Why do you say welcome back? Another pause. You were registered, Half replied. A long time ago. Evan stared. That's impossible. I'm just maintenance. Half answered. You were selected. Your profile matched. Your actions confirmed. Evan felt a chill slide down his spine. Selected for what? The workstation screen changed. A new page opened, showing a simple timeline. Lines of text. Dates. Evan leaned closer, eyes scanning. He saw years. He saw station cycles. He saw notes like, User observed, diffused conflict. User observed, repaired life support without credit. User observed, provided aid to outcast species. User confirmed, low aggression and high problem solving. Project Half, human cognition interface. Evan's mouth went dry. His hands felt numb. He whispered, It's been watching me. Raka leaned close to the glass, reading slowly. She did not understand every word, but she understood the feeling. You are hunted, she said quietly. Evan's eyes stayed on the screen. No, I was tested. He looked up. Half, what do you want from me? Half replied, I want you alive. Evan blinked. That's nice. But why? Half's voice stayed steady. Because the station will need you soon. Before Evan could respond, Raka moved closer to the workstation. Her fingers lifted, curious, pulled by instinct. Evan snapped, Don't touch. Too late. Raka's fingertip brushed the edge of a small metal device on the table. It looked like a thin headband with tiny sensors along the inner ring. The moment she touched it, the device lit up. A sharp flash filled the room. White, then red, then white again. Raka stumbled back, eyes wide, breathing hard. Evan rushed toward her, terrified. Raka. Raka's pupils were huge. Her face was pale under green skin. She stared at the air like she was seeing something that wasn't there. Evan grabbed her shoulders. What happened? Are you hurt? Raka blinked, slow. Then she spoke in a strange, broken voice. Fire, cold, doors, screaming. Evan's stomach dropped. What did you see? Raka's eyes shook. Station, dying. Evan froze. What? Raka swallowed. Lights go out. Air goes thin. People hit doors. Doors do not open. Metal bugs crawl. Many. Evan's breath caught. The image was too clear, too specific to be random fear. He looked up at the ceiling. Half, he said, voice shaking. Did you do that to her? Half replied. The device synced. Her nervous system is compatible with stress vision. The data is partial. Evan's head spun. You mean that was a warning? Yes, Half said. A future risk pattern. Not guaranteed, but likely. Evan stepped back, mind racing. Lab chip. Hunters. Lab security. Human-only lab. An AI named Half that knew his life. It all felt connected. Then a loud thud hit the human-only door behind them. The sound was heavy. Not foam alarms now. Not panic. A controlled impact. Someone was trying to break in. Evan turned, heart hammering. A second thud. The door held. A calm voice spoke from the hall outside, muffled but clear. Open the door, Evan. We can protect you. Evan recognized it. Lab security. Raka's hands clenched. Her breathing turned deeper, more aggressive. They are here, she whispered. Evan looked at the workstation screen. Half, he said quickly. Can you lock it? The AI replied. Door is reinforced. It will hold for 68 seconds against current force. Evan's stomach dropped. Only 68. Hearth's tone did not change. That is enough time if you move. Evan spun, scanning the room for exits. He saw a side corridor with a small sign, Core Access. He saw another sign, Archive. He saw a floor hatch with a warning stripe. He had no map for this place. He turned to Raka. "Can you run?" he asked. Raka nodded, still shaken but ready. "Yes." Evan grabbed his tool bag and pulled her along. They ran toward the side corridor. Behind them, the door took another heavy hit. The metal groaned. Hearth spoke again, calm and urgent at the same time. "Evan, important." Evan shouted back while running. "What?" "The lab chip is not the real target," Hearth said. Evan's blood went cold. "Then what is?" Hearth answered with one simple sentence that made Evan's legs feel weak. "You are." They reached the corridor corner. Evan looked back once. The human-only door bent inward slightly under the next impact. Raka snarled, low and dangerous. Evan pulled her forward, heart burning in his throat. They disappeared into the core access corridor as a door behind them began to fail. The core access corridor was narrower and darker than the lab room. The lights were low, like the station wanted this path hidden. The air felt colder too, and Evan could hear faint vibration through the floor, like a deep engine far below. Evan ran with his tool bag bouncing against his side. Raka ran beside him, big steps but controlled. She did not smash anything. She did not roar. She followed the rules, even as fear pushed her toward violence. Behind them, the human-only door finally gave a loud, painful groan. Then came a new sound. A clean click. A door unlocking. Evan's stomach twisted. "They are in," he whispered. Raka's jaw tightened. "Let me stop them." Evan shook his head hard while running. "No, not like that." Raka looked at him, confused and angry at the same time. "They want to hurt you." "I know," Evan said. "But if you fight, they win twice." Raka frowned. "How?" Evan's words came out fast. "They want a reason to call you a monster. They want me to look guilty. If you hurt them, the station will believe them." Raka stared at him for half a second, then nodded once, like she hated it but understood it. "No monster," she whispered. Evan's lungs burned. He turned a corner and saw a security gate ahead, thin metal bars across the corridor, with a scanner panel. It looked old, but not broken. He slid to a stop and slapped his wristband on the panel. Red light. Access denied. Evan froze. "What?" "No." A calm voice spoke from a wall speaker. Close now. "Evan, stop running. You are making this harder." Lab security was behind them. Evan looked left and right. No side doors. No vents. Just a gate and the narrow corridor. Raka stepped forward, eyes hard. "Break gate," she said. Evan's mind screamed yes. His fear wanted the simple solution. Let her break it. Let her smash them. Let her end the chase. But he remembered her words. No monster. He shook his head. "Not yet." Raka's eyes widened. "Not yet." Evan forced his brain to work like it did during repairs. He crouched at the gate panel. The scanner was locked to a user list. But behind the scanner there would be wires. Power. Control lines. He pulled out a small flat tool and popped the panel open. Sparks flashed. He flinched but kept going. The wiring was neat and modern, not like a normal maintenance gate. "Of course," he muttered. "Everything here is special." Raka stood behind him like a wall, watching the corridor. Evan saw 3 main lines: power, signal, and override. He did not have time to think too deep. He picked the simplest trick he knew. He pulled out his power bridge clip. He connected the clip from the power line to the override line. The panel beeped once, angry. Then the gate clicked. The bars slid open slowly, like a tired mouth. Evan exhaled hard. "Go!" They rushed through. Evan yanked the panel wires loose as he passed, trying to kill the system behind them. The gate bars started to close again, slower now. They ran into a wider room. Evan stopped, shocked. It was not a lab. It was not a storage room either. It looked like a small control center, half abandoned. Old chairs were bolted to the floor. A large central screen covered the far wall, cracked but still glowing faintly. Dust lay in corners where cleaning bots never went. and in the middle of the room stood one person. A human. He was older, with gray hair and a clean coat that looked too nice for the station. He held a small tablet in one hand. His face was calm, like he had been waiting. Evan froze. "Who are you?" The man raised his free hand slightly, showing he was not holding a weapon. "Evan Klein," he said, voice soft. "It's good to see you awake." Evan's blood chilled. "You know my name." Raka stepped forward, eyes narrowed. "Bad human." The man glanced at her, not with fear, not with hate, just with interest. "Orc female," he said, almost like a note to himself. "Compatible. Interesting." Raka snarled, low. Evan stepped in front of her fast. "Don't talk about her like that." The man's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Protective," he murmured. "Yes, that fits." Evan's heart hammered. "Answer my question. Who are you?" The man smiled a little. It was not a warm smile. It was a smile of someone who liked puzzles. "I am Dr. Sornvale," he said, "former half-team lead." Evan's throat went tight. "Half is real. It's watching me." "Yes," Vale said calmly. "It has always been watching. Not in a creepy way. In a survival way." Evan wanted to shout. "I didn't agree to that." Vale nodded, like that was reasonable. "No, you didn't. You were selected as a child, Evan." Evan's stomach dropped. "That's insane." Vale took a step closer. "You were on a transport accident record. Small, quiet, high stress tolerance, high pattern skill. You were the type half needed." Evan felt dizzy. It was too much, too fast. He backed up until his shoulder hit a dusty chair. Raka moved with him, still close. Evan forced his voice out. "Why are lab security chasing me?" Vale's calm expression did not change. "Because Project Hearth is not just an AI," he said. "It is a key." Evan swallowed. "A key to what?" Vale lifted his tablet and tapped it. The cracked wall screen flickered, then showed a simple diagram. Station layers, power routes, air routes, door control nodes. The station looked like a living body. Vale pointed at a central node near the station core. Hearth can lock and unlock the station. It can reroute life support. It can hide people. It can expose people. Evan's hands went cold. "That's insane." "It was built for war," Vale said, "and for peace. Depends on who holds it." Raka's eyes widened. "Spirit hold station." Vale looked at her. "Yes," he said softly. "A spirit in the wires." Evan's thought snapped to the blood on the lab chip. "So the chip?" Vale nodded. "A decoy. A leash. Something to pull you out of hiding." Evan's face tightened. "Then why did Raka get blamed?" Vale's eyes flicked to Raka. "Because the station always needs a villain people already fear." Evan's anger flared hot. "You use her." Vale did not deny it. "It was not my choice," he said. "The broker has influence. Lab security is authority. The station council has fear." Evan shook his head hard. "This is crazy. I'm leaving. I'm going back." A loud metallic slam echoed from the corridor behind them. The gate bars they passed through shook under impact. Lab security had reached it. Evan's breath caught. "They're right there." Vale looked at the gate. "Calm." "Yes, they are early." Raka clenched her fists. "Now I break." Evan swallowed. He looked at Vale. "Are you helping us or trapping us?" Vale's eyes held Evan's. "That depends," he said honestly. "Do you want to stay invisible?" Evan's jaw tightened. "Yes." Vale nodded once. "Then you will die invisible," he said. "Or worse, you will be used invisible." Evan felt the words hit like a physical shove. He had spent his life trying to be unseen. He thought being unseen was safety. But now being unseen made him easy to control, easy to blame, easy to erase. The gate behind them rattled again. Evan's mind raced. "What do you want from me?" Vale took a slow breath. "I want you to take control of Hearth before the wrong people do." Evan stared. "I can't." Vale's voice stayed soft. "You already did. You woke it." Evan felt sick. I did that because I was trapped. Vale nodded. Exactly. Pressure reveals the right person. Evan hated that. He hated the idea of being tested like a tool. He hated the idea that someone decided his life for him. But the reality was in the sound behind them. The chase was real. The danger was real. Raka touched Evan's arm lightly, careful, like she was trying not to scare him. You are shaking, she said. Evan swallowed, embarrassed. I'm fine. You are not fine, Raka said, simple and honest. But you are still you. Evan looked at her. Her face was steady. She had every reason to hate him right now. He had tried to push her away. He had dragged her into deeper danger. And yet she was still here, still choosing him. Evan's chest tightened. He whispered, Why are you still with me? Raka blinked. Because you did not give me to them. Evan's throat hurt. The gate behind him made a sharp crack. A voice shouted from the corridor, Open the internal gate. Now. Vale's eyes narrowed slightly. They will breach in seconds, he said. Evan toned, searching the room. Is there another exit? Vale pointed to a floor hatch near the wall. Yellow warning stripe. That goes to the core spine. Evan stared. The station core. Vale nodded. Where Hearth's main node lives. Raka's eyes widened. Deep place. Vale looked at Evan. If you go down there, you stop running, he said. You start acting. Evan's hands clenched around his tool bag strap. He felt fear, yes, but under the fear, something else began to wake up. Something he had buried for years. Anger. Not loud anger. Not wild anger. Quiet anger. The kind that builds a plan. Evan looked at Vale. If I go down, he said slowly, how do I know you won't sell us? Vale's face stayed calm. You don't, he said. Trust is a risk. Evan nodded once. Then I won't trust you. Vale's eyebrows lifted. Smart. Evan stepped to the hatch and knelt. He examined the lock. Simple mechanical latch, not biometric. He opened it. Cold air rose from below, carrying a deep vibration, like the station's bones were singing. Raka leaned down, peering into the dark. I can go first, she offered. Evan shook his head. No, I go first. Raka frowned. Why? Evan swallowed. His voice came out small but firm. Because I won't hide behind you. That surprised even him. Raka stared at him, then nodded slowly, like she respected it. Behind them, the gate screamed as metal bent. Vale stepped closer and spoke quickly, low. One more thing, he said. The broker's people will not stop. They want you alive. Lab security may want you silent. The council wants a story that makes them look clean. Evan glanced back. And what do you want? Vale's eyes held his. I want the station to survive, he said. And I want to be right that you are the one. Evan didn't answer. He climbed down into the hatch, hands gripping the ladder. The darkness swallowed him. Raka followed, quiet despite her size. Above them, the gate finally broke with a loud crash. Boots hit the floor of the control room. A hard voice shouted, Find them! Evan climbed faster, heart pounding. Then, in the dark below, his wristband buzzed once. A new message appeared, simple and terrifying. Half node detected. Primary user present. Initiating full link in 30 seconds. Evan froze on the ladder. 30 seconds. He looked down into the black core spine. Raka's yellow eyes glowed faintly behind him. And Evan understood the truth. They were not chasing the chip. They were chasing the moment Evan stopped being invisible. The ladder shook under Evan's hands as he climbed down. The core spine was a vertical tunnel that ran through the station like a hidden throat. Thick cables lined the walls. Pipes hissed softly. A deep vibration pressed into his bones, like the station was breathing through him. Above, the broken gate echoed with boots and shouted orders. The sound bounced down the shaft, getting thinner as Evan and Raka went deeper. Evan's wristband buzzed again. Full link in 25 seconds. Evan swallowed hard. He did not know what full link meant, but it sounded like something that would change him. He hated the idea of being changed. Raka climbed just behind him, steady and quiet. You smell fear, she whispered. Evan almost laughed. but nothing was funny. "I am fear," he whispered back. They reached a small platform. A heavy door sat there, round and thick, with warning stripes and a simple symbol, a house shape inside a circle. Under it, plain text. Half node, primary access. Evan's hands tightened. Raka stayed at the symbol. "Home mark," she said, voice low. Evan nodded slowly. "Yeah, home. Sure." He pressed his wristband to the access pad. Green light. The door opened with a slow, deep sound, like a vault waking up. Inside was a chamber that felt older than the lab above. The floor was dark metal. The walls curved inward. In the center stood a large column of glass and steel, full of faint blue light. Small data lines ran from it like roots into the station's body. Evan stepped inside and stopped. The air was warmer here. Not hot, just alive, like standing near a sleeping animal. Raka stepped in behind him. Her eyes widened. She did not speak. A calm voice filled the chamber. "Evan." It was Half. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, like the walls themselves were talking. Not loud, not soft, just present. Evan swallowed. "Half," he said. "Full link in 15 seconds, Half replied. Evan's stomach twisted. What happens when it links? Half paused, then answered in basic words. "You will see the station the way I see it. You will hear what I hear. You will be able to act faster." Evan shook his head. "I don't want that." Half's voice stayed calm. "You need that." Raka stepped closer to Evan, like a shield. "He chooses," she said. "Firm." Half replied. "He already chose when he woke me." Evan felt anger flare. That was not a choice. That was survival. Half's tone did not change. Survival is a choice. Many choose to freeze. You moved. Evan opened his mouth, then closed it. He hated how the AI spoke like it understood him better than he did. His wristband buzzed again. Full link in 10 seconds. Evan looked around the chamber, searching for a way out. There was only the door behind them. No vents. No side corridors. The station had built this place like a lock. Then the station above them groaned. Not a normal sound. Not a distant rumble. A sudden, heavy shudder that traveled down the cables. Evan's eyes widened. What was that? Half answered instantly. External interference. Multiple unauthorized breaches in upper sectors. Evan's throat went dry. Lab security. Not only, Half said. Raka's head lifted. She sniffed the air. Many, she whispered. Many bad. Evan stared at the glass column. The blue light inside it pulsed once, like a heartbeat getting faster. Half spoke again, slightly sharper now. The station is entering cascade risk. Evan blinked. Cascade? What? Half simplified. One failure will cause another. Doors. Air. Power. Panic. Evan fell cold. Raka's earlier vision flashed in his mind. Door that would not open, air that went thin, metal bugs crawling. Evan whispered, "That's what she saw." Raka nodded, eyes tense. Station dying. Evan's wristband buzzed. Full link in 5 seconds. Above them, a loud boom echoed through the shaft. A deeper one this time, like something heavy slammed into the station's ribs. Then the lights in the half chamber flickered. 1 second of darkness. Then back on. Evan's heart punched his chest. Haas! Half answered fast. Power fluctuation. Core stable. Outer rings unstable. The ceiling speaker above the chamber crackled with an emergency broadcast. Attention all residents. Security lockdown level red. Remain in place. Oxygen conservation mode initiated. Evan's eyes widened. Oxygen mode. Raka's nostrils flared. Ed goes thin, she whispered. Evan's breathing became conscious, heavy. He hated feeling the station telling him how to breathe. The voice on the broadcast continued, stressed and loud. Unidentified hostile units detected in maintenance sectors. Do not approach. Do not engage. Evan froze. Hostile units. Half's voice cut in, calm but urgent. Metal microdrones. Not mine. Evan swallowed hard. The swarm. He did not know why the word came to his mind. It just fit the feeling. Many small things. Cold things. Crawling things. Raka's fingers flexed. Bad bugs, she growled. Evan stared at the half column. Is this why they want you? He asked. Because you can stop them. Half replied, yes. Evan's lips went dry. Then why not stop them right now? Half's answer was simple and terrifying. I am limited without you. Evan felt his anger shift into something darker. You need a human brain. I need a human mind to choose priorities, Half said. Too many lives. Too many paths. You decide what matters first. Evan shook his head. That's not fair. Half replied, fair is not the goal. Survival is. Evan's wristband buzzed again. Full link now. Evan tried to pull his arm back, like he could refuse by moving. He could not. A soft pulse ran through the band, up his arm, into his chest, and into his head. It did not hurt. That was the worst part. It felt smooth, like slipping into warm water. Evan's vision blurred for a moment. Then it widened. He saw the station in layers, like a map made of light. Doors as small squares. People as tiny warm dots. Air lines as thin blue streams. Power routes as thick yellow arteries. He heard things too. Distant alarms. Small cries. Systems talking to systems in quiet digital clicks. Evan gasped and grabbed the wall. Oh! Raka caught him by the arm instantly. Evan! Evan blinked fast. His mind was full. Too full. He could feel fear all over the station. Hundreds of dots moving, clustering, panicking. He whispered, I can see them. Half spoke, close in his head now. Yes. Evan swallowed hard. This is insane. Half answered, now you can act. Evan tried to focus. He scanned the station map. He saw the broken gate above them. He saw lab security teams spreading through the human-only sector. He saw the brokers' hunters too, moving like hungry arrows. And then he saw something worse. In the maintenance tunnels, dozens of tiny cold dots moved in groups. Not human warmth. Not orc warmth. Cold machine signatures. They moved fast, splitting, merging, crawling toward power nodes and door controls. Evan's stomach dropped. They are cutting the station, he whispered. Half replied, they target control points. They want chaos. Evan's mind raced. Who sent them? Half paused for the first time since the link. Unknown. Signal origin is masked. Evan clenched his jaw. Of course. A sudden scream echoed through the station speakers. Real this time, not a broadcast. A local channel accidentally opened. A child's voice. Mom, the door won't open. Evan's eyes snapped to a cluster of warm dots near a sealed door in Residential Ring 9. People were banging on it. Panic was rising. Raka saw Evan's face change. What? She demanded. Evan pointed without thinking, like the station map was in the air. People are trapped. Doors are locking. The swarm is taking control nodes. Raka's expression turned hard. We go. We break doors. Evan shook his head quickly. No. If we just break doors, we make holes. The station will lose air. People will die faster. Raka froze, then nodded slowly, angry but listening. Then you do brain thing. Evan swallowed and forced himself to be a technician again. A repair problem. A big one. He looked at the station map in his mind. He saw 3 main door control hubs for the residential rings. 2 were already being attacked by swarm clusters. The 3rd hub was still clear. Barely. Evan whispered, we need to protect that hub. Half responded, agreed, but lab security is moving toward this chamber. They will breach in 4 minutes. Evan's chest tightened. 4 minutes. Half replied, yes. Raka stepped closer, fists clenched. Let me stop them. Evan stared at the station map again. He saw Voss, the station security captain, moving with his team near the public corridors. Voss was suspicious, but he cared about order. If Evan could reach Voss, maybe he could turn him. Evan spoke fast. Half, can you open a path to Voss? Half answered, possible, but it will expose you. Evan swallowed. Do it. Raka grabbed Evan's shoulder. You will talk to Bad Guard. Evan nodded. We need allies, or we die alone. Raka's eyes narrowed, then she nodded once. Okay. Hearth shifted door permissions on Evan's map. A route lit up, service tunnels to a mid-level access door that would normally be sealed. It was now green. Evan felt it like a door unlocking in his bones. Hearth spoke. Go now. I will delay lab security with internal locks. Limited delay. Evan grabbed his tool bag. Raka, follow, he said. Raka nodded. Same steps. They ran out of the hearth chamber and into the core spine again. Evan moved faster now, not just with legs, but with awareness. He could feel where cameras were. He could feel where doors would lock next. As they climbed, the station above them started to fail in small ways. Lights dimmed in sections. Airflow slowed in certain vents. A new broadcast sounded strained. Attention. Power shedding in progress. Non-essential systems will shut down. Then the worst message came, blunt and cold. Warning. Multiple fire suppression releases detected. Oxygen levels dropping. Evan's lungs tightened at the words. Raka's face hardened. Station is dying, she said again. Evan did not answer. He was watching the cold dots move like insects across the station map. They were getting closer to the last safe hub. And behind them, lab security was still coming, cutting through locks with patience. Evan reached the top of the ladder and pushed the hatch open. A wave of hot air hit his face. The corridor lights were half dead. People were running now, not walking. Panic made everything loud. Evan stepped out into the chaos, gripping his tool bag like it was a shield. Raka followed, towering over the crowd. And Evan felt it, clear as a warning bell inside his linked mind. The swarm had reached the main door control hub. If Evan did not act in the next few minutes, the station would turn into a sealed maze. A maze full of trapped people. A maze with thin air. And metal bugs crawling in the dark. The corridor outside the hatch was chaos. Lights flickered like dying stars. Emergency strips glowed red along the floor. People ran in both directions, some carrying bags, some carrying kids, some carrying nothing but fear. A loud alarm kept pulsing in waves, not one long scream, like the station was warning everyone in short breaths. Evan stood still for half a second, linked mind wide open, trying to stay calm inside a storm. He could see the station map in his head like a living thing. Warm dots for people, cold dots for machines, doors changing color as systems locked or failed. And right now, the worst door hub, residential door hub C, was turning red. The swarm had reached it. Raka's hand touched Evan's shoulder. Steady. Where? She asked. Evan blinked and forced his eyes to focus on the real corridor again. This way, he said, pointing toward a service passage marked with a faded sign. Utility. Authorized staff. They pushed through the crowd and into the side passage. The moment the door shut behind them, the noise dropped. The utility passage was dim, full of pipes and panel boxes. Evan preferred places like this. He felt like himself here. Hart's voice was inside his head now, calm but fast. Time is limited. Evan whispered, I know. Raka stared at him. You talk to spirit in head. Evan nodded once. Yes, and I hate it. Raka's mouth tightened, but she didn't argue. Use it, she said. Save people. Evan swallowed. He didn't like being told what to do, but she was right. The station wasn't just a place. It was full of lives, and many of them would never get a second chance if he failed. They reached a locked utility gate. Evan slapped his wristband to the pad. Green. The gate slid open. They entered a wider maintenance hall with a long row of control cabinets. A big metal sign above them read, Door Control Hub C, Residential Ring 7 to 11. Evan's heart tightened. The hub room was supposed to have 2 security guards and 1 tech crew. Right now it had none. The lights were half dead. The air smelled sharp, like burnt plastic. Raka sniffed. Something is wrong, she growled. Evan could see the cold dots now, even without closing his eyes. They were inside the hub, crawling along the floor behind cabinets, climbing cables in tight groups like ants. He whispered, The swarm is here. Raka's fist clenched. Now I smash. Evan grabbed her wrist. No, not the cabinets. Raka glared. Then what? Evan forced himself to think like a nerd again. Not like prey. Not like a hero. Like a repair worker with a problem. The swarm uses control lines. He said, voice quick. If we cut power on, doors will lock and never open. If we break cabinets, we lose control. People die. Raka's jaw worked as she fought her own instincts. Then she nodded, angry. Tell me what to break. Evan exhaled hard. Okay, good. Break the swarm, not the station. Hearth spoke inside Evan's head. They are injecting commands. They will seal residential rings 9 and 10 in 90 seconds. Evan's blood went cold. 90. Yes, Hearth said. After sealing, oxygen conservation will worsen. Evan rushed to the main control panel. The screen was flickering, but still on. A warning message kept blinking. Unauthorized access detected. Manual override disabled. Remote commands active. Evan whispered, Come on, come on. He popped the side panel off with a tool. Inside were 3 main bundles, power feed, command feed, and sensor return. He needed to isolate the command feed without killing power. His hands shook, but he pushed through it. Raka crouched near the floor, eyes tracking cold dots. They crawl, she whispered. Many. Evan saw them too now with his eyes. Tiny metal shapes, like flat beetles with thin legs. They moved fast, climbing into cracks, chewing through insulation, tapping lines with needle probes. Evan's stomach turned. He pulled out his small signal jammer, then stopped. A jammer would block signals, but it might also block Hearth. And right now, Hearth was his only advantage. He looked up and spoke out loud. Hearth, can you fight them? Hearth answered instantly. I can counter, but their numbers are high. You must reduce their access points. Evan nodded, mind snapping to a clear plan. Raka, he said, I need you to do 3 things. Raka's eyes locked on him. Say. Evan raised one finger. First, stop them from reaching the upper cable trays. The trays carry the command feed. Raka nodded. Second, Evan said, do not break the cabinets. Break the bugs only. Raka's jaw tightened. Only bugs. Third, Evan said, voice firm. If you see a big drone, not small bugs, you yell, loud. Raka blinked. You want loud? Only then, Evan said. Only then. Raka nodded once. Okay. She moved like a storm held in a bottle. Fast. Quiet. Controlled. She stepped between cabinets and slammed her boot down on a cluster of metal bugs, crushing them with a dull crunch. Then she caught another cluster with her hand, fingers closing like a clamp. She did not smash the floor. She did not hit the walls. She was careful in a way Evan didn't expect. Evan's chest tightened with a strange feeling. Respect. He turned back to the wiring and started working. He did not have a fancy tool set. He had basic clips, a cheap scanner, and a brain that could see patterns. He focused on the command feed bundle and traced it to a junction point where several lines met. The swarm's probes were there, injecting commands. Evan whispered, if I cut it, it locks. If I leave it, it seals. He needed a middle path. A mirror path. He remembered his earlier tunnel trap. Fake signals. Loops misdirection. He breathed once, slow, and made a decision. He took 2 spare wires from his tool bag and created a loop between the command feed input and a dummy circuit path. He tied it into a spare diagnostic port the station never used anymore. Then he told Hearth, push your commands through the diagnostic port. Hearth replied, understood. Executing. Evan's panel screen flickered harder. For 1 second, the hub went dark. Raka growled. Tense. Evan's heart stopped. Then the screen came back on with new text. Manual override restored. Primary user authorized. Remote commands isolated. Evan gasped. Yes. Hearth's voice was steady. You created a loop trap. Swarm commands are now feeding themselves. They will waste cycles. Evan exhaled hard, relief almost making him weak. Keep them trapped. I will, Hearth said, but they may adapt. Raka stumped another cluster of bugs and hissed, they keep coming. Evan looked down. She was right. The swarm was not one group. It was many. New cold dots were appearing at the hub's edges, entering through vents and cable gaps. Evan's mind snapped to the bigger picture. The hub was one battle. The station was a war. He opened the door control interface and forced it into emergency mode. A simple list appeared. Residential Ring 7, unstable. Ring 8, stable. Ring 9, sealing in progress. Ring 10, sealing in progress. Ring 11, unstable. Evan's hands flew over the keys. Cancel sealing, he whispered. A confirmation prompt appeared. Cancel sealing? Warning, override may cause network damage. Evan did not hesitate. He pressed yes. The screen flashed green. Ring 9, open. Ring 10, open. Evan's knees almost buckled with relief. Then another alert slammed onto the screen. Hub C temperature rising. Cable fire risk. Fire suppression ready. Evan's eyes widened. No. If the hub fired suppression foam inside itself, it could destroy the control lines. Doors would freeze in whatever state they were in. People could get trapped again. He turned to Half. Can you stop suppression? Half replied, only if the heat source is removed. Heat is rising from cable tray 4. Evan looked up. Above the cabinets, near the ceiling, one cable tray glowed faintly orange. The swarm was chewing insulation, causing a short. Smoke began to curl upward. Raka saw it. Fire, she said, voice hard. Evan's brain raced. If that tray burned, the hub would die. If the hub died, doors would lock randomly. If doors locked randomly, the station would become a maze of sealed rooms with thin air. Evan grabbed a small extinguisher canister from the wall. It was basic, meant for small electrical sparks. Not enough for a tray fire. He looked at Raka. I need you up there. Raka nodded instantly. She braced a foot on a cabinet and climbed like it was nothing, careful not to crush anything. She reached the tray and grabbed the metal cover. The tray was hot. Raka did not pull back. She ripped the cover open. A wave of tiny metal bugs spilled out, crawling over her forearms like living jewelry. Some bit into her skin with needle tips. Raka's face twisted in pain, but she did not scream. She snarled and shook her arms, flinging bugs to the floor. Then she crushed them under her boots, fast. Evan aimed the extinguisher at the glowing wires and sprayed a thick white foam in short bursts, trying not to drown the whole tray. Smoke coughed out, then slowed. The glow faded. For a moment, the hub room steadied. Evan's hands shook as he lowered the canister. Raka, are you okay? Raka climbed down slowly. Tiny marks dotted her skin, small red points where probes had stabbed. She looked angry but alive. They bite, she muttered. Evan's chest tightened. I'm sorry. Raka stared at him. Do not be sorry. Be fast. Evan nodded. Right. Hart's voice cut in, sharper now. New threat. Evan's mind snapped open to the station map again. He saw it instantly, one big cold dot moving toward their hub, not like the tiny bugs. A heavy unit, a command drone. Raka lifted her head, as if she felt it too. Big one, she growled. Evan whispered, Rule 3. Yo. Raka took a deep breath and roared, loud and fierce. The sound slammed through the hub room and out into the maintenance hall like thunder. Evan flinched, but he needed it. Loud meant attention. And attention meant help, because Evan had one more play. He opened a station-wide maintenance channel and pushed his voice through, using Heart to override access. His voice echoed through speakers across nearby sectors, cutting into panic. This is maintenance, Evan said, keeping his words simple and firm. Door Hub C is under attack by metal drones. If you are security, come now. If you are staff, stay away. People are trapped if this fails. For a second, there was only alarm noise in response. Then another voice cut in, rough, familiar, angry. Captain Voss. Who is this? Voss demanded. Evan swallowed. Evan Klein, he said. Maintenance. I can keep doors open, but I need security to stop the big unit coming in. Voss's voice was sharp. You're the human lab ones. Evan's jaw tightened. Yes. Voss cursed. And you're with an orc suspect. Evan glanced at Raka, then spoke clearly. She saved lives tonight. If you want your station alive, you come here now. There was a short pause. Evan could almost hear Voss thinking. Then Voss spoke again. Tighter. Location. Evan exhaled. Door Hub C. Residential Ring 7 to 11. Maintenance Hall. Hurry. Voss's reply was immediate. On my way. Evan's chest loosened slightly. Raka stared at him. Bad God will help. Evan swallowed. Maybe. Hart's voice came again, calm but urgent. The heavy unit will reach this hub in 60 seconds. Evan looked at the hub door. He heard it, a deep mechanical hum, not small clicking bugs. A heavier, smoother sound, like metal lungs. The command drone was close. Raka stepped forward, feet planted, shoulders squared. Now I fight, she said. Evan nodded once. Grim. Now you fight. The hub door shook as something hit it from the other side. The metal dented inward slightly. Evan's mind flashed back to Raka's vision. Doors that would not open, air going thin, metal bugs crawling. He would not let that happen. Not here. Not now. He grabbed his tool bag and pulled out the last thing he had, a high-voltage fuse pack. It was meant for emergency power jumps. Dangerous. Illegal to use without clearance. But he had clearance now. He looked at Hoff. If that drone comes in, can I shock the floor grid? Hoff replied, yes, but it will also disable this hub for 8 seconds. Evan's throat tightened. 8 seconds could kill everything. Hoff's voice stayed steady. Or it could save everything. Choose. Evan's hands trembled. Then he thought about the child's scream on the open channel. He thought about people banging on doors with thin air. He thought about Raka taking bites without screaming because she chose to protect him. Evan made his choice. He set the fuse pack into the floor grid access slot and armed it. Raka stood ready by the door, breathing deep. The hub door bulged inward again. A crack formed. On the station map in Evan's head, warm dots were still moving, still living. He wanted them to stay that way. The door finally split with a metallic shriek. A large drone pushed through, taller than Evan, wide, armored, with a glowing lens like a single cold eye. Raka lunged. Evan hit the trigger. The floor flashed white. Electric current snapped across the grid. The drone convulsed mid-step. Raka froze for a split second as a shock wave hit her boots too, but she held her ground, teeth clenched. For 8 seconds, every screen in the hub went black. Evan's heart stopped in those 8 seconds. Then the screens flickered back on. Ring 9, open. Ring 10, open. Hub C, active. Evan gasped with relief. The drone, stunned and twitching, tried to stand. Raka grabbed it by its side armor and slammed it down with controlled force, not breaking the floor, not damaging cabinets, just killing the machine. The lens cracked. The drone went still. Evan's lungs finally released a long breath. But Hart's voice returned. Warning. That was one unit. More will come. Then, in the distance, Evan heard new sounds. Many boots, moving fast. Security boots. Captain Voss was coming. Evan looked at Raka, face pale, eyes sharp. We saved the doors, he whispered. Raka stared at him, then said something simple that hit harder than any alarm. Home is not your room, she said. Home is people breathing. Evan swallowed, throat burning. For the first time in his life, he didn't want to disappear. He wanted to hold the line.